Scunthorpe United had lost 4-0 at home to Exeter City this afternoon. Well,
Open wide for some soccer!
Oh, they wish it was 4-0, John Paul Pittman. They wish it was 4-0. Alas, it wasn't. And we will probably go into that at some point because we all need a bit of a giggle. I am joined, as always, by an exceptionally loud Tom who doesn't know how to put his thing on mute. How are you? Now you got to unmute yourself.
Yeah, good. Cheers, you.
Yeah, good. Thank you. No football regalia today. I'm slightly disappointed, I've got to admit. Mike, how are you in your one-man office that you never leave?
I'm good, pal. How are you?
I'm good. And speaking of a man who never leaves his office, Bruce, how are you?
I'm just admiring Mike. Just admiring Mike's pinboard that's got nothing on it but a town scarf. I think a pinboard's a thing of the past, isn't it? Now it's all paperless now.
It's covering a big crack in the wall, mate. I've took all my work stuff off it.
Excellent. I'm good, Alex. Thank you. I'm not too bad.
Look, this might be a very quick one tonight because there's not much to discuss unless we've had to extrapolate to a half of football before. I didn't think we'd have to do it for about 2 minutes, but we'll do our best. And if you've got any queries, questions, thoughts, whatever, throw them in. We'll go through the ones that you sent in on social media as well, and we'll answer some of those too. As always, one of the big gripes from everybody out there on Twitterverse, we weren't there, but we've got one man that was. Bruce, overall thoughts of yesterday's game. It sounded slightly bizarre on the radio. I don't know how you found it in the lower.
It was one of the strangest games I've ever seen in my 30 years of watching Town. It was just so surreal, everything that happened, really. We started off like an absolute house on fire. Scannell looked like Messi. The midfield were bombing on. We were running with the ball. We looked like that. They looked absolutely appalling. We looked like we were going to win 3 or 4-0. And then we didn't score when we were on top in the first 20 minutes, but there was obviously plenty of time left in the game for us to score. And then Luke Waterfall had probably the worst 2 minutes that anyone's ever had in their entire footballing career. Regardless of blame, and I've seen all sorts of people for the first one, between the two of them, there's some breakdown, there's some problem. It was almost identical to last week, and twice in 2 weeks was just unbelievable. You just couldn't believe that he poked it past the keeper again. And then, obviously, a minute later, their guy goes through. He gets a little bit out-muscled. I've not seen the build-up again. Somebody said Smith got wrong side or Smith did something that he shouldn't have done. But once the guy's sort of battling with Waterfall, normally you'd have him to win that physical battle. The guy didn't look that rapid, but he got in front of him and Waterfall hauled him down. I've seen it again. Other people say that it was outside the box that he started. But then obviously penalty, red card, and you've given away 2 goals, gifted them 2 goals in 2 minutes, and you're down to 10 men. I don't know what the time was. What was it, midway through the first half? And it was just weird, absolutely weird. It took us about 5 minutes to get going, but we reorganised. I was not happy when I saw, I think Abrahams or somebody went over to talk to Hurst, and he got Sean Pearson, and we were like, we're 2-0 down. Why are we doing that? And I actually don't have I was moaning before we'd actually seen the substitution because we thought that he was going off. But actually, I don't disagree. We had to keep 2 up front because there was no point just staying as we were. And we were the better side after that. They scored second half, obviously, because we were attacking. We had loads and loads of balls into the box. And I mean, we've talked about it all season, haven't we, that it doesn't seem to break for us. But is it that it doesn't break for us, or we've not got that striker with a natural instinct that gets in front of them and, gets into the pockets of space and sticks them chances away? We toiled, but ultimately it wasn't enough. And I think 5th place has gone now. But we're in the playoffs, and I think if we get a win on Tuesday night, looking at the goal difference and stuff, that should be enough to secure 6th place above Chesterfield or Dagenham.
Yeah, I mean, does it really matter where we finish in terms of 6th or 7th? Really?
I don't think 6th or 7th does, but
we're not going to go through that conversation again.
No. But no, we're only worried about the quarterfinals at the minute, aren't we? We're not going to try and figure out the semi-finals.
Yeah.
But I'm disappointed that that's the biggest thing for me, that we had a goal difference with Notts County of 2. They were plus 25. We were plus 23 going into yesterday. If we'd have had a decent win against Boreham Wood on Tuesday, we would have gone to Eastleigh with a Bristol Rovers scenario where it was in our own hands if we'd have got a win and secured enough goals. So, it does seem to make a massive difference. It looks a lot bigger challenge going to 2 away games to get to the final than it does a home game, and that's the biggest disappointment, because Maidenhead were absolutely appalling.
Got a point from us. They've got what, 4 points from us this season. It's a trend. Was there any similarities to the performance at Barnet? I think the biggest problem for me was that we just didn't start. We looked so complacent in that first half. I assume it didn't sound the case. It sounded like we went out hell for leather, really.
Oh, we were all over them. It was the best first 15 minutes that I've seen in forever. And if we'd have got a goal, if the sending off and the own goal, and then what subsequently happened after that hadn't happened, if we'd have scored in the first half, it could have been a Dover. I honestly think that we were so much better than them, but we just, it just 2 minutes just killed us.
Has anyone else got any thoughts on yesterday? I mean, we'll go through them all. We'll talk about strikers. I mean, I was surprised to learn that Woking have got 3 players on 13 goals, and even Maidenhead have got a guy on 15. It seems to be goals where we're really struggling. Tom, what were you going to say?
I think I tweeted this. Well, I know I tweeted it yesterday. Like, I think it's the worst thing in the world to have a loss in the run up to the playoffs. As long as we get positive results in the next 2 games, I think it's really hard to sustain a long unbeaten run, and so having a break in that run, it going into an all or nothing game or 2 is perhaps not a bad thing, because it just maybe alleviates some of the pressure that you've got to. Obviously, they go out to win every game, but I think sometimes having lost a game gives you a bit of impetus to then go and win the next game and keep that run going again. Whereas, I don't know, the longer you get into an unbeaten run, it's kind of like, well, we're going to lose sooner or later. But now that loss, and maybe that big mistake from Waterfall and the big communication issue that could have happened in the playoffs might be cleared up in training this week.
I was hoping it would have cleared up last week.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean? Maybe they'll sort of just think about that more closely. And hopefully we'll go into the playoffs all guns blazing. I think if he gets the points on Tuesday night, and it looks like we're not going to finish outside of, it looks like we're basically going to finish in the same position or whatever, I suspect he'll play some of the players that haven't got a game recently against Eastleigh, and keep what in his mind will be his first 11 for the potential first playoff game as well rested as possible. Because I don't know if you remember when we played Newport County in the playoffs, the first time we made the conference playoffs, we played them in the sort of the last or the penultimate game of the season when Scott was here as well, and we played quite a strong side and beat Newport 3-0 at home in the league. And everyone was like, yeah, that's good. We've got a psychological advantage against them. And what Newport had done was rest all their players, and then they ended up beating us, quite a lethargic town team, over 2 legs in the playoffs. So,
well, we talk about the loss of the loss yesterday would sort of help. I mean, the biggest problem obviously is we had quite a few injuries coming out of it. Reports that Sean Scannell has done his Achilles and cruciate and won't be with us now that's his season done effectively, and you got, God forbid, it's the end of his career in terms of professional football, because that is a big old injury to get, which looked so innocuous, or sounded innocuous at least, Bruce.
I didn't even really notice it, to be honest. It looked like he just landed a bit funny. One of the lads sat near me said, but like you, you just got a feel for him, haven't you? That he's the fact that he's still here shows what Hurst thinks of him when he's shelved so many other players, and he's got himself, and he just started yesterday brilliantly. He did a bit on the right in front of us, in front of the pontoon on the lower, sort of dinked one way, then the other between two defenders, and got a shot off on his left foot in the first few minutes. And he was just all over the place. And like you say, I just fear now that at his age, with his injury record, we can't take a chance on another contract. And I don't see that could easily be the end of his professional career.
It's a bit heartbreaking. I'll come to you in a second, because I know I haven't talked to you yet. But it's like, just to sort of speak about Scanlon, he certainly won me around over the last year or so in terms of, and he just seemed to be growing into his position and becoming more influential as sort of time went on. And you hope to God that it isn't as bad as initial thought reports are. But I mean, the guy must be heartbroken.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a feel for him, haven't you? I mean, I think I've said in here on the past, actually, with Scannell, that I've sort of always thought there's a player in there, and obviously there is from where he's played in the past, but he's just never had that luck with injuries. And you think over the last couple of weeks, he's pretty much become one of our sort of key players. Offers quite a lot, and just as he gets going again, he seems to get another bad injury. You've got a feel for the lad. I mean, I hope he comes back from it. You've got to look at his age and his injury record. You've got to think that might be about time for him. Certainly with us, I don't see us taking a risk on another contract with him. I mean, coming back to the game though, I mean, it just struck me as 2 minutes of complete craziness. But from what Tom said, I am sort of the opinion that Tom is, that I'd rather get this out of the way, this complete barmy defending out of the way now, than be talking about that sort of thing in the playoffs. So I think, we've had 2 games in a row now. We've had some massive cock-ups in defence. So hopefully that's out our system. I think also the point about having a bit of bad luck and a bit of bad form going in is also valid. One thing that did confuse me slightly, or I didn't quite understand, is why they took Cropper off quite so early. I'd have thought with 10 men chasing a game, I think we even touched on this last week, his throw is such a weapon that, it can give you something else to, get something out of nothing chasing the game. So I was a bit surprised he took Cropper off.
We said that at the time, and I think the only thing I could think was that we'd not got a natural left footer in the back three. When he went to a back three, we didn't have a left back, if you like, but we didn't need 4 defenders, because even before the sending off, they didn't have anybody up front. That's all we could think of. Because I agree with you, the long throw is always an option to have, and I think Alex said the other week, didn't he, that you forget, but it's a benefit when we're deep in our own half as well. Gets us up over the halfway line rather than trying to fiddle about at the edge of our own area. So yeah, that was a bit weird. I would imagine it was probably quite a close call between Amos and Cropper.
The only thing I could think about, Bruce, is maybe he's trying to protect his right back with Mishy's injury, and he's thought, well, this game's gone. Do I want to have both my right backs out if something happens in this game? That's the only thing I could really think of.
It was funny that even at 2-0 at half time, the game didn't feel gone. But I take your point. But it was just, if we'd have scored a little bit, if we hadn't have, I know it's ifs and buts and maybes and whatever else, but if we hadn't have let that third goal in, a goal for us any time in the last 10 minutes, I would have fancied us to get back in the game. I just think you wouldn't have known that one team had 10 men and one had 11.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's what was the refereeing performance like, Bruce? I mean, Tonda wasn't his biggest fan. Apparently a part-time referee, which I think they all are down here, if being honest, but a part-time pilot for EasyJet. So given, where what I've seen from the penalty, I don't want him flying me home from a flight anytime soon. I'm slightly worried the fucker would miss the runway. How was he overall? Because he sounded like we could have had a guy sent off for a push. And I don't know. I just don't understand. Tom probably knows better than me how the professional foul thing works. Like, he gets one game suspended for a red card, but I thought Double Jeopardy made sure that you didn't have a penalty and then had a man sent off at the same time. We seem to have got,
I think that's only if it's a genuine attempt to get the ball.
That's what somebody near us said, that it had to be a genuine attempt, and it was a genuine attempt to wrestling move, but not a tackle.
Yeah, I think it's all to do with the interpretation of intent, isn't it? So if like there's a handball and the ball just hits your hand, and then they get a penalty and score, you could perhaps get off with that because you've not like put your hand out like that to try and save it. But if you put your hand out like that to actually save it, and you do, then you get a red card and they get a penalty. You get your marching orders, like Bruce and Mike basically said.
So if he'd have gone and swiped out from his leg as well underneath him to make it look like he was going for the ball, he'd have been fine and would have had 11 men on the pitch still.
Possibly, but
okay, you got to remember that. Go full bodied into it. Get your legs in the air. You might be all right.
Going back to your original question about the referee, though, that incident that you're talking to, and I was just going to ask Tom what the rule is, but I mean everyone was screaming. I mean Sean Pearce, the guy, there was a bit of a melee, and the guy pushed Sean Pearson sort of in his upper chest, if you like, in his upper chest. There is only one chest, isn't there? But he pushed him in his chest area, and Pearson sort of fell about 40 yards backwards. It was a bit dramatic. Is a push a sending off, or has it got to be a sort of contact to the face?
No, you can get sent off for violent conduct for pushing someone. Again, it all comes down to, that's the thing, isn't it? It's all in the opinion of the referee. That's the whole point of the.
It's not a cut and dry decision then. The fact that he's pushed someone over, because to be honest, I didn't think it was a red card. We were all screaming for it.
Yeah,
at that point we were hacked off.
Yeah, you don't want those sort of things. It was exactly the same as at Barnet, isn't it? When one of our fans squared up to their defender or whatever. It's one of those you don't want to see it happen. But it's the first thing everyone's tweeting and talking about afterwards and joking with. I don't mind a bit of stag rutting between two players, but you could have.
I think a push. A direct red card is for like striking an opponent or another player or the referee, isn't it?
Slap across the face.
Well, that's what it says. It did when I did mine. It said
it has the Batman.
You're not allowed to strike, but I guess a push could be interpreted as violent conduct in certain circumstances. In other circumstances, it's just kind of like dissent in it. It's just like you say, sort of stags. Rutting or whatever.
I wonder what would have happened if somebody had crouched down behind Pearson when he pushed him like they used to in the playground at school. send him flying.
I would have absolutely loved it if it was one of our own that did it.
I mean, we know how football's coming at the minute with people rolling around and all sorts of things. Like, I don't want to see a push being something where you're debating having a red card. Just get on with it. We're all big boys, crack on.
I think the ref had nearly had enough of Sean Pearson by the end of the game. He was in his ear all the time. He was relentless. He must have called him over about 4 times from different incidents because Pearson had been sniping at him from a distance or something. He was every time, and then he is one of our better, for want of using Alex's, shithousery players, and will get in the referee's ear and he's a brilliant professional because he was. They didn't have a great deal to do yesterday, but he just slots in when he comes on. He's had limited football lately, but I've got no qualms that he'll be absolutely fine on Tuesday night.
Yeah,
He,
and you can see why Luke Waterfall and him can't play together. Because fuck me, I could outpace them on in a fucking 1-to-1 if those two are at the back. But it's a shame because I think Pearson's got that extra presence that maybe Waterfall doesn't at times. The sniping is one of them. Mike, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say if he's in the ref's ear all game, maybe he's had a bad flight back from Magaluf in the summer or something.
Maybe he had his flight cancelled. He was one of these that had long COVID or something and couldn't get back, and had to spend a bit more time in Wrexham. We might even go on to Stockport's absolute cataclysmic failure in the last couple of weeks. But we've got a lot to sort of catch up on with this. So we've got Boreham Wood on Tuesday night. I mean, hey, I might even have to mention this morning's Twitter tirade from everybody. Look, you don't have to agree with me. It's absolutely fine. I don't mind that at all. It's why I'm here. But I would genuinely prefer to see Macca in goal. I'd probably agree. I'd probably say that those two own goals would not have happened with Macca in goal, mostly because he doesn't come off his line, and he'd have just been stood there to catch it. If you want to have a chat about it, I'm always more than welcome to. I'd have said that I think Crocombe is slightly better at covering crosses, but I don't think he's amazing at it. If anyone who went to Weymouth was there, my God, he dropped more clangers than I don't know. I can't even think of an analogy to make fun of, but he dropped a fair few at the feet of Weymouth strikers. I just think Macca's got a save in him, like a worldy save that Crocombe doesn't. You know, when those ones that come out of the bag from nowhere. But I don't know. It's a hard one. I don't think if Macca's the same player he was when he was left out after Solihull, I'd have him back in. But I'm apparently in the minority because I think Crocombe at best needs a rest.
Sorry, Alex. I thought you finished. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, I assume him and Waterfall are just not talking to each other anymore. Hurst has made them sit in fucking separate corners of the changing room. Just say, look, talk about it next week or set up your own WhatsApp group. Maybe they all have to go fetch the paper and they have to work out who gets it first. I don't know. I don't know. Crazy stuff. What were you going to say, Bruce?
We've conceded 42 goals this season. There's only 3 teams in the league that have conceded less. I don't think the goals we let in. All right, we've let in a couple in the last of silly goals in own goals in the last 2 games. The goals we've conceded isn't a problem. It's the other end where it's the reason why we're not in the top 2 or 3, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just think at the moment it is like 5 goals against Barnet and Maidenhead isn't really an acceptable number. You can't really blame the penalty on a keeper. That's very harsh, but maybe just at the moment, it's up front. Everybody's right. It's up front that's the problem. We just don't have a guy that's gonna put them away, and I think that's what will ultimately, leave us finding coming up short because, as I said, Woking have got 3 players who have scored 13 goals this season. We could dream of having one of them at the moment because we just don't. And McAtee was on the bench. Fox looked good. Is that right?
Fox was excellent. He was man of the match. I believe he got man of the. He was, we around me, we were saying he was the best player on the pitch. He was all over the shop. He didn't look like a player that had not played 90 minutes or had been. I think he only came on back at Barnet last week, didn't he? And we said he changed the game. And to be fair to Hurst, I don't know whether he looks on Twitter, but people said they wanted Abrahams and Fox in after their performances off the bench last week, and sure enough, they started. And you just got me thinking when you were talking a minute ago. Mike was saying, I think, Scannell's been getting in recently ahead of Sousa and Maguire-Drew. And that shows where he's come from out in the cold. But yeah, Fox was really good, and I didn't realise he was only on a 12-month contract. I've seen people saying we need to get him signed up ASAP, and I wouldn't disagree.
Yeah, I really like the look of Fox, and I'm amazed that he only got a 12-month contract, especially with his age. And I think we need to be signing up as quickly as we can. To be honest, was he 23, 24?
I'm not sure, but it's gone really quiet on the sign. I know they don't know what division we're going to be in, but it's gone really quiet. I thought we would have heard more sooner under the new regime. Whether might be Paul Hurst's choice not to talk to them yet in great detail. I know we've heard that discussions have started, but it's been really quiet on contracts and stuff like that. Maybe the players don't want to commit, perhaps, some of them.
Well, I think generally at the business end of the season, you don't want to start announcing things when you're trying to concentrate on a playoff push and then a playoff campaign, perhaps. So you don't actually know they're not already done. We're just not going to talk about them.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, or they are done and they are waiting.
Yeah, I mean, if other players are in the camp and haven't got a contract yet, but they know the lad they're sat next to has, is that going to create a bit of, why has he got one and I've not? So
when Clifton turns up in a shiny new Peugeot.
Is that the level of attainment he's going for? Is it? He's going for his Peugeot. It's not Max Wright being told to fuck off down to Asda to get a part-time job now anymore.
A reliable runner, not a sports car.
Yeah. He gets a Skoda like me. He's got a really boring, it's good mileage though, especially with petrol prices these days. Simon says, sorry.
So Barry Conlon would have been a Skoda, I think, with the big plumes of smoke coming out of it.
Oh, don't talk about that fucking feckless oaf. Simon Hodson says, it's all set up for Pearson to get the winner in the final against Wrexham. Tom, you have your eyes set wider on this turgid league of National League football, and Stockport have gone off the rails more quicker than a Red Bull with any sort of engine in it, and with no Michael Massey to help them out. They have gone off the rails spectacularly, have they not? Are you expecting Wrexham to make the jump over Stockport?
No.
Okay, good. Bruce.
It's still in Stockport's hands, isn't it? They've got a game in hand. So as long as they win their two final games, one against Torquay in the week, whose season is over, and I think that's at home as well. And then I can't remember who their final game is against, but it is, whilst Wrexham have pulled ahead on goal difference at dinner time, and they did hammer them. I don't know if anyone else watched the game, but other than like one chance for Stockport really in the first half, Wrexham made it look sort of fairly easy. They have still got it in their own hands, so I expect Stockport to win the league.
How are the playoffs looking in the league below, Tom? I see you mentioned about Boston in our WhatsApp yesterday. Are we any closer to knowing who might come and join us? Should we still be here next year?
Well, Boston did sneak in, so there's a potential for a second Lincolnshire derby next season should we not go up. And then I think Gateshead won the title in the Conference North, yeah. And Maidstone won the title in the Conference South. And the National League North playoffs is Brackley. I saw Brackley play Boston. They were a decent side, actually. Fylde, Kidderminster, York, which would be a nice away day, as would Boston, I suppose. Chorley. And then the Conference North, I know Havant and Waterlooville missed out to Chippenham Town. I don't even know where Chippenham is, to be honest with you. Eastbourne Borough are in the playoffs. Oxford City, Dartford, who we obviously played before. Ebbsfleet United, I think we played them, didn't we? And Dorking Wanderers.
Ebbsfleet's another Kent, isn't it? Or it's down that
Dorking.
Way on.
I would like Dorking.
Don't tell us it's near you. Not another Maidenhead and Aldershot.
It's Surrey. It is proper rolling Surrey Hills, my friend.
What league is Slough in?
Slough are in the Conference South as well, but they finished mid-table.
Thank God for that.
Slough are in bloody financial implications out there. Am I getting them mixed up with Staines?
Have Windsor got a team? That's Leafy Alex and your way on, isn't it?
No, Windsor. Who else is around here? That's Hartney Whitney. They're pretty good. They do a decent burger. Who else is around here? That Guildford City are nowhere near. I can't think of anybody else. Mike might be able to help. But Dorking will be lovely. Lovely part of the world, Bruce. It's where they do a lot of the cycling, so Tom will like it. A lot of the cycler Britons go that way, near Box Hill. It's a lovely part of the world, but you have to pay a fair bit to live there. Yeah. Plastic pitch though. And they've got a massive cockerel on their roundabout. That's all I've got on Dorking. Oh,
Are they
no,
Aren't they the ones who are on TikTok all the time? They've got like a camera crew following them round.
Oh, I don't know. All I know is the
Or a
Vodafone
YouTube
there where
series.
I used to work. They have a go-kart track in their basement. That was pretty good. They had a little go-kart that they used to use. That was good. Yeah, it looks all set up.
Would have
I
been
don't
all right
know.
if we still had Ryan Sears then, wouldn't we?
I mean, in the
Okay.
Conference North and South, there's quite a big points disparity between second and seventh. It's like over 20 points compared to at the minute 15 in our division, and that's between top as well in our division. So you would expect, I guess, in the National League North and South, the teams that have finished second and third to be the most likely winners. Whereas I think in the National League, there's a bit more sort of equality between the teams that are in the playoffs.
Let's go for a quick roundup on what people have thought of the game. Jamie Roberts said the only one else who's agreeing with me with the Macca thing, but said I actually thought Hurst made the right changes after the madness, and we were knocking on the door hard after the third. I've just clicked on and it's fucked it up. Third killed it. On another day, we get back into it, and he brings Macca on to boost the players, and the crowd can see why he didn't though. After the third went in, crowd was good, wasn't it? It looked absolutely rammed. Even the Osmond looked pretty full. It was again another big game. I know Tom was worried about the big game curse, but you know it was the fact the fans are still there and still going, even though you know draw at Barnet. It's going to be interesting if we get a home game at any point. I guess Bournemouth will be our last, won't it?
Do we still have the big game curse?
No, it's gone. Big game her curse is now when we have to move the game to Sinsel Bank because we can't fit everyone in Blundell Park. But Bruce, it was all right, wasn't it? And yesterday's going to be Bournemouth is going to be our last home game because I don't think we're going to get a home game in the playoffs, are we?
No, it doesn't look that way, does it? No, the crowd. I'd written it down in my few notes that I make. The crowd was excellent yesterday. Was it 6,300 or something like that?
Did the inflatables help? Because I saw a lot of miserable bastards whinging and whining about them.
I didn't see too many. There was a cactus that kept getting in my eye line. The crowd was excellent, and we did it a little bit differently yesterday. Maisie had bought a friend for the first time, so she'd been sent with the shops. The shop was rammed because the sale had started, and she wanted a kit. So we went down that end of the sort. We normally walk from Cleethorpes and go in the other end, but there were so many families wandering around. There are a new generation of fans being brought along by their parents, and I think that in the week when we've celebrated the 1 year anniversary of the new owners coming in, I think that the club should be applauded for the initiatives that they've seen the Osmond filled with new fans, and we've got people that sit around near us a little bit who we've spoken to, and they've started off on the cheap or free tickets in the Osmond, and have then, as the season's progressed, they've become regulars in other parts of the ground. So that the crowds, if we'd have been under the previous ownership, we'd have been in the 2000s this year, wouldn't we? And the average is nudging 5, isn't it, or something like that? And it's a different place to visit. It's still a shame that we're in the non-league, but that's where we are at the moment. And but the match day experience and what they're doing to try and encourage people through the turnstiles is excellent, in my opinion.
Ollie, I have not heard why Mike Newell apparently got sacked at Town under the cosh. If you're on Twitter, send me a DM right now to the DN35 thing. We'll get you on now, and you can tell everyone what it was because I was not listening to it. So send us it now, and you can come on and tell us the story.
It's hilarious.
Good, Tom. What were you going to say?
Our average attendance is 5,689,
which is the highest since 2003.
Brilliant, you two. Well done.
Stats.
It has to be said, like as Bruce said, the new board do deserve loads of credit for. Obviously, it's coincided with a bit of form on the pitch, but they do deserve credit for sort of bringing the crowds up. And it's worth noting as well, like just as for the conference overall, that's only the 6th highest average attendance in the conference. Like Wrexham, Stockport, Notts County, Chesterfield, and Southend all have better average attendances than us. admittedly, it drops off a cliff after us. The next one is Woking, 2,600. But it's a really strong league in terms of support these days.
I think it puts us 6th in League Two as well. I don't know if you said that.
That's mental.
Our average attendance would put us 6th in League Two at the moment, which is and about 16th or so in League One.
Sort of
so
shows
not
you
bad at
what
all.
a bottleneck League Two in the top of the conference is, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's just a shame that the leagues are becoming a bit of a plaything. I know we've seen Forest Green go up, and I know Jason's quite a big fan of Dale Vince, but I hate this idea that clubs are just literally a plaything for millionaires. Fleetwood, Salford, Forest Green, and if we don't go up, I would obviously prefer to see Wrexham and Stockport go up. Not because it doesn't mean that the league is going to be a lot easier to deal with next season, but also they're two decent clubs that have been down here for a bloody long time. Tom, what were you going to say?
Well, haven't clubs always been sort of a little bit of a plaything for their owners? It's all about like people who have like previously, obviously now it's like millionaires from across the world for a lot of the teams. But I think it was always a little bit like local businessmen. I'm going to do something. Okay, it was a bit more, maybe I'm going to do something good for the community, but it was also like for them, I guess, like a bit of a social thing. Oh, I'm the chairman of Derby County, or whatever. I'll come down and have a day in the director's box with me, just buttering up potential clients or whatever.
I do agree that, but I guess at the same time, they were usually businessmen with clubs that were within a community. I don't think Forest Green is a community club. Salford has the potential, I guess, to be one, but Fleetwood has been up there for a while and has not extended their things. I don't know. That's my thing. If they were a club, if it was like Milton Keynes and Peter Winkelman had bought whatever Milton Keynes used to be before they became Franchise FC and brought them up, that's fine. That makes sense. And the same kind of, I guess, with Crawley. But I get what you mean. I hope you understand what I mean too.
I think it's always been around, hasn't it? It's just not been around to this extent. And I think that's magnified with the amount of times you've seen it going wrong. With clubs going out of business and getting into trouble, which sort of links back into what we discussed a couple of weeks ago about who is owning football clubs. It's more prevalent and it's definitely going wrong more.
Jason Stockwood coincidentally has an article on The Guardian today, the Guardian website, about sort of money in football and ownership. I will put a link on my Twitter feed for anyone who's interested.
Simon Hodson says Bob wasn't happy with the inflatable, surprisingly. I'll be honest, Simon, I don't think Bob would be happy even if he was getting a fucking blowjob. So there we go. Bruce, what were you going to say?
He was smiling when I saw him last week.
Maybe he was getting a blowjob.
Not off me, you want.
Jesus Christ.
I hope you used all teeth.
Bloody hell.
Fucking miserable bastard. Anyway, what are we going to say? I can't remember now. JMD's John Maguire-Drew's form. People are saying that his form has dipped. I slightly agree. But with Scannell out, I would imagine we start him, do we, on Tuesday, and then look to bring Sousa on as an impact sub after about an hour?
I think so. I think with Maguire-Drew, I might be wrong, but it very much strikes me as he needs to be somebody that's playing quite regular. He's had an injury and been out the team a little bit, and I wonder if that's just a little indication of why he's not as sharp and as clinical as he has looked when he had an extended run in the team. Perhaps that, but definitely with Scannell's injury, then Maguire-Drew would be the person I'd be putting in for the remainder of the season.
Sadly, Max looks fourth choice of the wingers, doesn't he? Now promoted obviously to third with the injury. He's come back in, and I think he's a sort of player that would need a run of games to get his fitness going, and I don't think he's going to get that at this point. So that has to cast a big shadow, a big doubt, which we've already discussed over his future at the club.
Is Joel Grant still around? I don't even
What's
know.
Matt Green doing? Is Matt Green around?
You'd be better with Grant Mitchell up front than him.
What about Danny Rose? Bring him back into the mix?
Oh, we've still got Moraes, haven't we? He's still on the books?
No, he's gone.
Oh, that's a shame.
What about Moishney or whatever he was called? Has he got his scooter still? Can he pop back?
No, he's a bit busy. And he last appeared at Barnet, I think.
Sostanovic, is he about yet?
I think he's still in Parkhurst, isn't he?
What's he doing with Andy Parkinson? Mark Walters says, give Fenty credit for the big crowds. If he hadn't fucked off, they wouldn't have come back. Yep, absolutely. Cannot agree more. It's a bit of a change when all you have to complain about is on-field stuff. And even there, it's very few and far between. Is there anything else anybody wants to talk about? I know we've got about 10 minutes or so left, and I'll go through some of the reviews of yesterday, but they're all in all, they all seem to be about the same.
I've got a sale item. Tom asked if we could do a regular thing. I've got a sale item for the end. I don't know if you want to save it or do it now.
No. Well, hang on. If you'd have told me this, I'd have done. Let's use my old thing. Hang on. I don't know. What have we got? Have we got anything that we can use? Oh, we can use the game thing. What are you selling?
This
will the budget stretch to a sequined blazer for you as well for after that?
No, that's for my sequin dress.
Well, I got rid of the unit. We ended up giving it away, so my sales pitch wasn't very good. It went to a charity shop down the avenue. But I've now got, which I think with all the home bars and stuff that have come in during lockdown, this is one for the ones that are watching rather than listening. A lovely Muhammad Ali standing over Sonny Liston, famous shot, framed print.
How much are you paying for that? How much did you buy that from at the range?
It was from B&Q many years ago. I don't know. What do you think? What's that worth? Is it? Do I have to give it away, or is it? I think all the bars that people have got in the back garden since lockdown, it's got to be worth a tenner of anybody's money on it.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, no jokers.
I could. Or if I brought it down south, to give it to you or Mike next time I saw you, would probably get 50 quid for it.
Well, if we put it next to some organic falafel, it'll be fine.
I'm just trying to work out how big it is. It's about a sort of.
Please tell me you're talking about the picture frame.
No, I'm not on about Bob's knob.
Poor old Bob, he's getting hammering.
No,
that's what he was hoping for.
I don't know. Anyway, it's nice frame print. I'm open to offers. Anyone can message me.
Can I put Bob's blowjob as the
not? And if not, it'll be in the charity shop next week with the.
I'll give you a Freddo and some cheesy quavers.
I've actually got
for the picture, right?
It probably needs its own pod, but I've actually in the loft I found a load of old CD record singles or whatever you call them, vinyls. But sadly, they're the sort of thing that me and my sister used to have. So it's all Stock Aitken and Waterman and things like that. So I think, but there's about 50 of them. So I might need a summer spin-off during the close season.
We've got
Dennis Waterman died today.
Oh yeah, good. Let's talk about that wife beater.
What, Stella?
Look, Ollie's here and he's going to tell us this story. If we had any sort of budget, we'd go with that. One thing though, we've got that Linwood shirt we need to sell. Do we want to, just auction it to the highest bidder or do a raffle ticket for everybody, like £2, and then we can put money towards the podcast? Tom wants it. How much?
I want more of Bruce's buy and sell. I want a segment out of this every week now.
Well, we got to have some sort of feature.
Can we have it like Swap Shop?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do Town Swap Shop. That's a great idea. If you've got any town materials you want to swap in and, you want to, get rid of, if you've got, I don't know, that Barry Conlon mug and you really want some Alan Poughton, socks, then, we'll see.
I thought you got Anthony Limbrick on then.
Yeah, if you've got
congratulations, you've done a cracking job.
Oh, Tom will talk to you for an hour and a half.
I wish.
Borrow a dart, Ollie. So you listened to this podcast.
Yes, well, I listened to it this week because Peter Sweeney was on it. So
he doesn't look like Peter Sweeney anymore, let's be honest.
To be fair to him, he was pretty embarrassed about his time at the club. So done better than Linwood already. But
that's not hard, is it?
No. But he was saying, but the reason apparently Mike Newell got sacked is he was having a few words with the chairman. He said he didn't say his name or anything, but he says he's having a few words, and the chairman said something he didn't like, so he peanutted his tie, and that's the reason he got sacked apparently.
So Mike Newell peanutted Fenty's tie, like proper, school bully.
To him, yeah.
So then Fenty's at home. Fenty's at home at 6:30 after kickoff. Like, for fuck's sake, I can't get this fucking.
Yeah.
It was a clip on.
I do like that idea that he's just proper peanutted it. Then he also start trying to pick the little lines out of his tie that we used to do at Casey Yarborough.
I mean,
Oh.
I listened to it as well, and some of the stuff is amazing what they were getting up to. Like Barry Codlin and Sweeney were going out midweek and biting heads off fishes in bars. And
yeah, of £800 fish, he bit it in half apparently.
£800 fish? Did he go to Seafair? What was that? Seaway?
Yeah.
What else did they say on it then?
Just talking about drinking a lot. He drank a lot throughout his whole career, and when they came to town, it just seemed to be a load of old pros that all were like that, and they just all got thrown into a ring, all exactly the same people.
I can't believe that with Mike Newell in charge. I don't know how that happened.
I think he said it was the worst set of pros you could get with the worst manager in the worst town. Not like calling Grimsby the worst town, but like there's nothing else to do when they were here. So they were just saying that they were all pissed all the time.
They didn't play like they were much.
That's slightly worrying then. I mean, I like the idea that Fenty at least got his tie peanutted. Was he anything else? Was it better than the Linwood one at least?
He was nicer, a lot nicer about Grimsby. He says he felt bad about his time here, and a club that big shouldn't have had people like that playing for him. So
a club that big shouldn't have had players that big playing for them.
yeah.
When you think about it, Neil Woods took that squad, or a variation of that squad, to within one game of staying in the league. So he perhaps nearly performed a bloody miracle.
I think every time more I hear about that squad, the more I want to give Neil Woods a hug. Just to,
I mean, Sweeney said he came in and he got rid of a load of them.
Beer,
paid more,
all the cans,
taking out all the empties.
Yeah. Oh man, thank you so much for coming to tell us it. I like that idea. I don't want to give any credit to a podcast that gives Paul Linwood a platform, but at least you're doing the reporting for us.
Yeah, no one else has to listen to it now, so.
Yeah, exactly. So if anybody else wants to know more about it, Ollie, you can find him on Twitter, and you can also find him on YouTube. Go back to him, drop him a line, and he'll tell you more about it. Thank you, Ollie. See you later, mate.
That's right. See you.
So we've got music segments and now correspondence.
Yeah, Tom's our South Coast correspondent. He reports back to us every day just to make sure that the South Coast is still there, and they're all still pretending a gravel driveway is a beach.
That's reassuring.
And then goes from there, really. Bruce, is there anything else you want to touch on? Is there anything else we need to flog? Is there anything else we need to sell?
No, but I will just go back to Friday night and the event that the Mariners Trust put on.
Good stuff.
It was absolutely brilliant. For anyone that's not been on the planet for the last couple of weeks or isn't interested so much, we had a reunion, the delayed 7980 that was cancelled 2 years ago with COVID, and the lads of the 50th anniversary of 71-72. There probably were about, 15 players altogether that came back from the two different teams. And it was just one of those nights in McMenamin's that I've been to quite a few now. I would never miss. It's a nostalgic chance to look back at the club's history, which is richer than it is at the moment. And we've had some great teams and some great players. It was just a really, really good night. The staff were excellent in McMenamin's. We were still sat there. They were clearing the tables, asking people to leave, but the bar staff were still serving, which was quite funny. But yeah, we had a great night. The players loved it. Dave Roberts deserves a special mention. Joe Waters was supposed to get back on Thursday, but his flight was delayed from America. And Dave drove down to Heathrow and literally brought him back almost straight to the event. So he put a lot of effort in, apparently, to making sure that the night was a success. And George Kerr turned up unexpectedly, stayed for a little while. and it was great because he's not been in the best of health. I don't think it's any secret, and it's some of them are getting on in years. It was a little bit sort of bittersweet. Dave Boylan's not very well again, and he came for probably 2/3 of the night, but got a lovely standing ovation as he left, which he seemed to enjoy. Which things like that will be special as time passes. It was a really good night, and it was sold out, completely sold out. They sold some extra tickets in the week, and they were or put them on sale, and they all went as well. So yeah, it was a really good night, and felt slightly rough yesterday morning on me 8 o'clock run.
We just needed to get in there that he was running as well, just as a sort of little flex.
It's a fast walk, then we'll call it. But yeah, it was a bit. The belly was a bit ropey.
It's good to see that they're going and they're well attended, because that's always the worry. But it seems there's a bit of a buzz about the place. And we've got a new club online shop, which is apparently a thing. I don't know how much you can talk about a website, but things are going really well.
Didn't it hark back to the 1970s? Some people were saying on orders, a little bit of, but yeah, it looks brilliant, doesn't it? Looks loads better.
The thing is, it's quite embarrassing actually that you have to celebrate that sort of improvement, going from something that was so outdated and just getting a normal website with nothing that's really that special. It's just an up-to-date one. So,
I just like that it's
well
secured.
Yeah.
Which also the 100 tickets portal is not, which is quite interesting. Hopefully it was the right website I went to. But there we go. Anything else before anything? Bruce, thank you so much for that. Were there any particular stories that you remember from the night that you want to share?
Not particularly. The players were. I did have to apologise to. I'd put a little montage together of video clips for it, and bye Tom. I'd put a little montage of video clips together for it, and he's got. We've had our hour. We've had our hour. He's got things to do.
Don't take it personal, Bruce. He's just gone.
Yeah. Obviously he's been waffling on again. But yeah, I put this clip together, and it's about 55 minutes of all the highlights I've got from the two eras. I just realised somebody come up with a pint and just went, "Oh, there's Mike Brolly over there," and I just realised that I've not put probably the most important game of the 79-80 season together in the highlights, the Everton game where Brolly scored twice. So I just said, "Oh God, I hope I'm not anywhere near Mike Brolly," and of course he was sat next to me in the room. So I felt I had to apologise, but it was good. They were all really good company, and I think they love coming back as well.
I'm glad to hear it. And also we need to say happy birthday to Jack Hinchcliffe, who's 100 and is a town season ticket holder still, and arguably one of the oldest football fans in the country. So, incredible stuff.
Happy birthday, Jack.
Yeah, happy birthday.
I'm sure
he downloads this, Mike.
Listens to it on his morning run like Bruce.
Yeah, exactly.
He probably runs faster than I do.
I mean, he certainly runs faster than me. Okay, let's go through quick of these, and then if you guys have got anything else to say, we'll do it at the end. Oh God, I'm so quick at this. I should really have this planned out to begin with. Just one moment, please, viewers. Mark Middleton said he's pleased he wasn't there. Wayne Brightmore said the scoreline didn't justify the performance from from town, even at 10 men. Rob, we do recover. Says a strange game. No qualms with the 10 that stayed on and fought till the end. Was always going to struggle after a mental 2 minutes. Starting the game the best we've started for a while. Just a weird day, really. Worst thing about yesterday is Scannell's injury. Mark Stilton said he basically came out of that game and laughed because he couldn't really put it into any sort of words about how it was. Let me have a look, see if there's a few more, because you're all very kind and send them in, and I feel very mean if we don't go through them all. Let me have a look. I found you. Don't worry, we're here. Ant Porter said, I think the only thing to discuss in the team will turn up in the playoffs, either the team that showed up at Chesterfield or the team that shows up against the pub team. Hopefully it's a home draw. We're better at home. I don't think it's very likely, mate. Pete Anderson says, absolutely delighted to go to that, to get that 1 in a billion minute from Luke Waterfall out of the way. didn't need that popping up in the playoff final. Scannell was playing like Messi. His injury is a terrible shame for him and us. Fox needs signing up for the next season and beyond. 3Q Nuts and Rusty Bolts says, crazy 2 minutes cost us yesterday. Barnett first half, awful. Was Max to blame? No. Has Luke Waterfall had a couple of mistakes in him? Yes. Is the criticism of him right now? We take 4 points from the next 2 games that are then counting. It's 50-50. Just my opinion, but still believe this side can do it. Oh, they absolutely have an opportunity to. Finn Boner said, love that you put the... Yeah, I'll watch the Grand Prix in a minute. Roast UK says, looking on from the lower, even with 10 men, we were the better side. I'm happy to take the result, especially with Dagenham and Redbridge losing. We'll be in the playoffs. Just want to avoid Solihull Moors, who just seem to have our number, and he's just slightly worried about JMD's form. And that's your review from the stands. And beautifully put.
We're due one against Solihull Moors, though, aren't we? I think
we're due one. Christ, they're going to put
that's
on
how it all works, isn't it?
7'6" beanpole, and we'll lose 5-0. Look, I don't mind. My aim was to get to the playoffs. We're going to get to that. Anything else is a bonus. We obviously want to go in to win it. We have some very marked weaknesses that we have to change. But as I said, we've all said it, haven't we? We've come from such a different place from a year ago. The whole thing is unrecognisable. Bruce, anything to add before we saunter off and I go and get the Grand Prix
Yes,
ready?
one very last quick sales pitch, which is not for me, is that I completely forgot.
Have we got a book out?
No, we haven't got a book. But nice link. The night was also the launch of Rob McElveen's latest book, Walking Down the Grimsby Road, which is excellent. It's a story of McMenamin's boys of 71-72. If you've not got a copy, then contact Matt, contact Rob. He's on Twitter, or the Mariners Trust are selling them as well. Excellent. Get it on your bookshelf. Thank you. You're muted.
Yeah, I was waiting to see how long he could work that out.
Sorry, man. I do so well usually. We've got a new flag coming as well. You'll all be delighted to know. Thank you to Steele's Corner House for paying for it, and for Clonerism for doing the artwork. You've seen the little fishy man. We'll get that out there. We'll also try and get some. I think we'll try and get some t-shirts made of the same thing, but with the pubs on, because we need to get some cash in to make the podcast still work. We'll be coming out to you. We'll probably sell that Linwood shirt at some point. Did we say it was for charity, Bruce? Will I be up to any legal issues? Are we a charity? We're not. We're certainly a not-for-profit organisation.
Have you ever cared about legal issues before?
Well, as long as they're dead, that's it's fine. Libel don't matter if you're dead. I can't remember what I was going to say next. Yeah, it doesn't matter if they're dead. That's it, I think. Bruce, anything else to add? Anything else?
I am done now, mate. I am done.
We're finished. Okay, great. Right. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you so much for coming to us when we've changed the time. If you're listening live, I am going to go watch the Grand Prix, as is Mike, and we'll be shouting at the TV for a while. If you've got any questions or any thoughts on what we could do to make the podcast a little bit different, feel free to send a message in. If you want to get involved, or do so as well. And we'll be happy to have you on. Bruce, thank you for joining us.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
You're getting more and more boxes behind you, though, man. You're going to become a bit of a hoarder here. I've just noticed. Like, it's slowly growing.
I've moved it round. It's all town stuff. I'm only allowed little bits. It's
you
my
go
little,
and
it's
see
my
you
little
like
space.
a shelving unit one day with just your head poking out.
Yeah, probably.
Trini and Susanna will be around cleaning out the house.
Lenny's still on the calendar, though. Look, I haven't replaced him with another previous year.
Well, a previous year's calendar is just as likely to have a current player on it as a stage.
Should we have a little sneak peek? Look, sneak peek. See who's next month. Hang on.
Well, who's gonna welcome us into the Football League? Who is it?
Erico Sousa.
Okay, who's going to be August? So when we're back in the Football League, who's the one?
Yeah, this is the problem, isn't it? This is the problem. You get later in the year. I mean, Macca's always Christmas. Bless him. Right, here we go.
He's going to be August. I did say bye.
David Long King in July. I don't think he's coming back.
No.
Michi Afete in August. He might still be here.
He might be still here. Yeah, what about September? What about the first League Cup game?
Ryan Taylor.
Okay, he might still be there.
Has he under contract?
First round of the FA Cup, October.
Max Wright in October. Ooh, bless him.
Okay, November. We're getting into, you know.
Oh, Foxy. He's definitely staying.
Yep. And then what about December? We're getting ready for the FA Cup third round. We're playing Man United at home.
Unless we've changed from the last few years, this is going to be James McEwen.
I first has had his. Oh yeah.
And it is.
Oh, that's going to be an awkward one for all of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we all? You don't have to agree with me, but can we treat him a little bit nicer? The way some people were going at me, you thought we'd have fucked off Tommy Forecast over this season. The guy's won 4 Player of the Year awards, for Christ's sake. Leave him alone. Right, okay. Thank you very much. Bruce, thank you so much for joining us. Mike, thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening, and we'll all speak to you very soon. And we didn't even mention, we can't go yet without mentioning Bristol Rovers 7, Scunthorpe United 0.
Love it.
The lowest ever points total for a football team, excluding Doncaster and Luton. Luton, of who had a minus 30 points deduction. They got more red cards than they had wins. They have got no ground to speak of. Oh, my word. Is there anything worse? I don't know.
But Keith Hill says they're going up.
Keith Hill does say they're going up. And I'm going to leave you with the final words of John Paul Pittman.
Scunthorpe United have lost 4-0 at home to Exeter City this afternoon.
Love it.